Hello snowboarders of the internet, I am your host TC and today I will be reviewing the Jones Meteorite binding. I rode these bindings at Copper Mountain where it was a warm spring sunny day. The snow was pretty much soft all day, was that granular type snow that turned eventually into that soft pudding style where you go to lay an edge into it and it just sinks on you. But the groomers were nice in the morning and it got a little bit push piled towards the end of the day, but overall beautiful sunny day and definitely had to wear all that sunscreen. I used my Ride Fuse boots and my Jones Aviator board. Binding adjustability. When we're talking adjustability on the Meteorite or really any Jones binding, it is very minimalistic where you have a flip tab in the back to adjust the high back, and then you have two flip tabs, one on each strap. Just flip those open. You can use a screwdriver or your hands, whichever you please. And that's just how you're gonna adjust those straps. And then pretty much the only other adjustability there is gonna be in your disc, where either you're gonna mount this vertical so you can go heel toe more with your board or with your binding on it to get that thing nice and centered, or you'll go sideways to micro adjust it and get that perfect stance. But when you're just talking binding adjustability on these, the main thing is it's nice and minimalistic so you have less things to worry about falling off. You can change the bushings on these as well. You're just gonna have to buy aftermarkets or go see your local shop and see if they have any spares laying around. And I mean, that goes the same if it just pops off when you're swapping boards out, anything like that. They make different degrees from soft, medium, and hard, and it'll just give you a little bit different riding experience. This version of the Meteorite is gonna be a little bit different than every other version, where this one actually has the Mercury ankle strap on it, and then it's just gonna have their universal toe strap. So starting off with this ankle strap, as you'll notice, it is a little bit bigger. It has this exoskeleton on the outside, and it's only gonna be a straight molded strap. So if you need extra padding, this isn't gonna be for you. The only padding you're getting from it is gonna be from your actual boot itself. But that being said, it is still a nice big strap that really, when you ratchet this thing down, it disperses all that pressure and that weight really well, where I really don't notice this strap even being on. You can also flip this strap over and have a surf mode. Right now it's in the free ride mode, so when you do strap in, it sits a little bit higher on your ankle, and if you were to take this one off, flip it to the opposite and vice versa, it's gonna sit a little bit lower on the top of your instep actually, and give you a little bit more lateral play to it as you're riding. Now, when we go down to the toe strap down here, the first thing you'll notice is it's new this year. It looks very similar to last year's, but there's actually zero structure whatsoever, and it really folds and stretches extremely well, so you can ride it over the toe or on top. I prefer to ride it on top, ratchet down as hard as I can, and really get this thing to stretch just so it creates a nice zone on top of my boot, and it doesn't cause any pressure points, and it just keeps me feeling locked in. Remember to like, subscribe, click that bell, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of the videos we have coming out. Even though the Meteorite is gonna be the bottom of the tier when you're talking Jones bindings, they didn't skimp out on these ratchets. They are the same ones that they use on pretty much from the Meteorite all the way up to the Apollo, where they don't really have any play side to side in them. They're super easy to grip in your gloves, and they're really easy to get on and off with your mittens on. So really nothing crazy to write home about on here. They do well at gripping the ladders. They don't strip anything out. And even if you have last click syndrome like myself, you can get all those clicks in without wondering if you're actually just doing more damage than good on that ladder. The first thing we'll talk about on the high back is just gonna be this simple flip tab to give you a little bit more forward lean if you ride with that. It's nice and easy, just flip it, don't twist it, and then just flip it right back and you'll be all good to go there. Now, the next thing you might notice on here is this tiny wing where it really doesn't do a whole lot when it comes to response. You do feel it though when you're pressing or buttering on the board, and you do feel a little bit when you're awling. The problem I had with the wing is on my Ride Fuse, my side boa, it was pressing against that actually, where it didn't pop out my side boa. I could just feel it kind of rubbing on there, and they didn't really get along too much. So if they made it a little smaller, I've seen people grind it down. I don't recommend doing that. It voids all warranty, but just keep that in mind. If you do have a side boa, you might have a little bit of problem there. But Overall, it is nice and responsive when you are going heel to toe. You don't really have any lag or anything like that. I didn't feel this high back pressing against my boot just because it's not the tallest high back in the world, so you're not gonna have any problems even if you do have a shorter cut boot on. Since it is on a Skate Tech chassis, that binding is not gonna flex towards the bottom, it's gonna flex more towards the top. Now, even though it does have that Mercury ankle strap on it, it still has some side-to-side play where when you go to flex into this high back, you really notice how much you can actually turn this thing without a lot of effort. That being said, when you're riding it, you'll notice it won't have as much flex to the outside of the board as it does to the inside. So when you're trying to drive those turns and really push that knee towards the center of the board, you're gonna realize that it's gonna allow you to do that a little bit easier than towards the outside. The first thing I noticed when I strapped into this and started riding these bindings is they do have a 3-degree cant on the footbed. So what that does is when you're riding, it actually cants your feet in towards the center of the board, keeping your hips in line and a little bit more comfortable throughout the day. I really prefer having this on my board, especially if I'm riding a little bit wider of a stance, makes it a little bit more comfortable. I also felt like they possibly stiffened up these footbeds just a little bit, giving them a little bit more response to it. Now they're still nice and damp, but it just felt a little bit better, and like my extra movements or when I would drive into the board, it wasn't wasted like it kind of felt before, where it felt a little too squishy. Rider in mind. The rider for this binding is somebody that is a little bit more advanced, but they still want some surf feel to it. They're probably spending more time in the park than free riding, but they just need something with a little bit of lateral movement and something that's gonna hold them a little better on the outside when they're on boxes or rails just trying to press it out or just butter. They're not super hard chargers or anything like that where they're trying to go Mach 10 and need the stiffest, most aggressive binding out there. They just want something fun and something that'll translate well to multiple boards. If you want to support us further, head on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. Sure, I could explain it here, but we have a great video over there getting into it really in depth. I really like this binding, especially because they do have my favorite straps on it, so that was a huge plus. I would say maybe make this high back just a little bit smaller, or even at the factory, just cut it out just a bit just to fit any sort of side boa, because I have seen that problem with other people. It's not just me. So that would be one thing that I'd be like, hey, maybe fix that a little bit. But overall, it is a great binding. And if you're looking for that surfier binding, that sort of thing, that you don't need it super stiff or super locked in, this is a great binding for you. Comparable bindings: the Salomon District Pro Team, the Union Force, and the Yes Uninc. This has been my review for the Jones Meteorite. If you've picked up a pair and just need to get them dialed in, why don't you go watch Avran's video on how to set them up.